The massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber opened with a deep rumbling sound that made the floor shake. Ambassador Lisa Martinez walked through them with steady steps, her black diplomatic uniform standing out against the colorful robes and strange body shapes of the alien delegates around her. She had been Earth's voice in this place for 3 years now, but today felt different. Today, the air itself seemed to buzz with danger. The chamber was huge, bigger than any building Lisa had ever seen on Earth. Its walls curved up and up until they disappeared into shadows high above. Floating platforms held the seats of the 12 founding species of the galaxy, each one designed for the comfort of beings that looked nothing like humans. Some delegates had tentacles instead of arms. Others had 4 legs or no legs at all. A few breathed different gases and sat inside, clear bubbles filled with their home atmosphere. Lisa took her place on the human platform, which hung in the air near the center of the great space. Around her, hundreds of other platforms held representatives. From younger species, the ones like humanity that had joined the galactic community more recently. Most of these delegates were quiet today, their usual chatter replaced by nervous silence. High Chancellor Vexstar rose from his platform directly across from Lisa. He was tall and thin, with gray skin that looked like old leather and 4 arms that moved with sharp, angry gestures. His species, the hegemony, had been the most powerful force in the galaxy for over 1,000 years. When he spoke, his voice carried through the chamber without any need for amplification, a trick of hegemony. Biology that always made humans feel small. We gather today to address a crisis that threatens the very foundation of galactic civilization. Vexstar began, his words echoing off the curved walls. The species known as humanity has violated the sacred accords not once, not twice, but dozens of times in their brief membership among us. Lisa felt her heart start to beat faster, but she kept her face calm. She had expected this moment for months. The other species had been growing more and more angry about human expansion into unclaimed star systems. They said humans were moving too fast, taking too much, refusing to follow the old rules that had kept peace in the galaxy for centuries. Let the record show, Vexstar continued, that humanity has established colonies in 47 systems without proper authorization from this council. They have refused to pay the standard taxation that funds our mutual defense. They have ignored our warnings and continued their reckless expansion despite repeated diplomatic protests. A creature that looked like a giant insect with crystal wings clicked its agreement from a nearby platform. The delegate from the Crystalline Collective had always hated humans. Ever since human miners had started competing with their traditional mining operations in the Outer Rim, Lisa stood up, activating the translation device that would carry her. Words to every being in the chamber. Honored Chancellor, if I may respond to these accusations. You may not, Vexstar cut her off with a sharp gesture. The time for human excuses has passed. This council has shown remarkable patience with your species, far more patience than we have shown others who violated our laws. But that patience has limits. Around the chamber, delegates from the founding species nodded their various heads, tentacles, and sensory organs. Lisa could see the decision had already been made before she ever walked into the room. This was not a trial or a negotiation. This was a ceremony, a formal declaration of something that had been decided in private meetings she was never invited to attend. The Chancellor activated a holographic display that filled the center of the chamber with images of human colonies. Ships landing on empty worlds, cities growing where only wilderness had existed before, mining operations pulling resources from asteroids that had floated untouched for millions of years. Look at what they have done in just 50 years, Vexstar sighed, his voice rising with emotion. 50 years since they achieved faster-than-light travel, and already they spread across the galaxy like a disease. They show no respect for the careful balance that has maintained peace among our peoples for millennia. A delegate from the Aquatic Federation, whose platform was filled with water, made bubbling sounds that the translation system rendered as agreement. The fish-like being had complained many times about human ships disturbing the migration patterns of space-dwelling creatures that the Federation considered sacred, Lisa tried again to speak, but Vexstar raised all four of his arms for silence. The sacred accords are clear on this matter. Any species that threatens galactic stability through reckless expansion and refusal to accept proper authority must be brought into compliance through whatever means necessary. The chamber fell completely quiet. Even the usual sounds of alien breathing, clicking, and movement stopped. Lisa realized that every being in the room was waiting for the formal words that would change everything between humanity and the rest of the galaxy. By the unanimous vote of the founding species, Vexstar announced, this council hereby declares that a state of war exists between the Galactic Council and the Human Colonial Federation. All human ships and installations are to be considered hostile. All human personnel are to be detained or eliminated as military threats. All human-controlled systems are to be occupied and brought under proper galactic authority. The silence stretched for several heartbeats. Then delegates throughout the chamber began making the sounds their species used to show approval. Clicks, whistles, roars, and stranger noises filled the air. Some aliens stood and performed what Lisa guessed were ceremonial war dances. Others activated devices that projected symbols of victory and conquest. Lisa stood in the middle of it all, the only human in a chamber filled with beings who had just declared war on her entire species. She should have been afraid. The smart thing would have been to beg for mercy, to promise that humanity would submit to whatever terms the council offered. That was what the aliens expected. That was what every other young species had done when faced with the overwhelming power of the galactic community. Instead, Lisa reached into her uniform and pulled out a small communication device. She activated it with steady fingers and spoke clearly into the pickup. Admiral Carter, this is Ambassador Martinez. Please inform President Hayes that the Galactic Council has just declared war on humanity. The chamber began to quiet as aliens noticed what she was doing. Vexstar leaned forward on his platform, expecting to hear human pleading or offers of surrender. Lisa continued speaking into her communicator, her voice carrying clearly through the sudden silence. The President asked me to deliver a message if this situation arose. Please tell him that I have asked our new enemies his question. She looked up at Vexstar, then slowly turned to make eye contact with delegates throughout the chamber. When she spoke again, her words were meant for everyone present. His reply was to ask them, "Is that all you have got?" The chamber erupted in confused sounds. Aliens chittered, roared, and made noises that the translation system could not interpret. Vexstar's four arms moved in what Lisa had learned was a gesture of extreme surprise among his people. "What did you say?" the Chancellor demanded. Lisa smiled, a very human expression that none of the aliens could properly understand. "I said that my president wants to know if declaring war on 300 human systems with a few thousand ships is really the best the mighty Galactic Council can manage." He was hoping for more of a challenge. She turned off her communicator and placed it back in her uniform. Then she walked toward the chamber doors, her footsteps echoing in the shocked silence. "Ambassador Martinez," Vexstar called after her. "Do you understand what has just happened here? Do you comprehend the forces that your species has chosen to oppose?" Lisa paused at the chamber doors and looked back one final time. "Chancellor, I think you are the one who does not understand. You have never fought humans before. You have no idea what we are capable of when someone threatens our freedom." The doors opened for her and she walked out into the corridor beyond, leaving behind a chamber full of aliens who had expected fear and received defiance instead. The emergency alert sirens were already blaring when Admiral Jake Carter stepped off the transport that had rushed him from the orbital defense platform to the Pentagon. Red lights flashed in the corridors as he walked quickly toward the command center, his boots clicking against the polished floors. Military personnel ran past him carrying data tablets and sealed folders, their faces grim with the knowledge that humanity had just entered its first galactic war. The main conference room was packed with people when Jake arrived. President Dan Hayes sat at the head of the long table, still wearing the casual clothes he had been in when the call came. Around him sat the most important military and civilian leaders in human space. General Amy Foster from the Colonial Defense Force was already pulling up holographic displays of fleet positions. Dr. Kevin Wright from the Department of Xenological Studies sat across from her with stacks of files about alien military capabilities. Jake, thank God you are here, President Hayes said as the Admiral took his seat. Lisa just sent her full report from Nexus Prime. The aliens are not playing games. They want total surrender or total war. Admiral Carter activated his personal datapad and quickly scanned the message from Ambassador Martinez. The formal declaration was exactly what they had feared might happen someday. The Galactic Council had grown tired of what they saw as human defiance and had decided to solve their human problem with military force. What are we looking at in terms of numbers? Jake asked. Dr. Wright cleared his throat and stood up, activating the room's main holographic display. A three-dimensional map of the galaxy appeared above the table, with different colored dots showing the positions of various alien fleets and human colonies. According to our latest intelligence, the Galactic Council controls approximately 2,000 star systems, Dr. Wright began, his voice steady despite the grim news he was delivering. Their combined military forces include roughly 50 million ships of various classes, from small patrol craft to massive dreadnoughts that are larger than anything we have ever built. General Foster leaned forward in her chair. And our forces? We control just under 300 systems with a total fleet strength of approximately 2 million vessels. Dr. Wright continued. On paper, we are outnumbered 25-1 in ships and almost 7-1 in star systems. A heavy silence fell over the room. Everyone understood mathematics, and these numbers looked impossible to overcome. Secretary of Defense Bill Thompson shook his head slowly, while Director of Intelligence Carol Davis made notes on her tablet with sharp, angry strokes. President Hayes stood up and walked to the holographic display, studying the positions of human and alien forces. Kevin, these numbers assume that all alien species will fight together with perfect coordination. Is that realistic? Dr. Wright smiled for the first time since entering the room. Actually, Mr. President, that is one of our few advantages. The Galactic Council has never fought a unified war against a single enemy. Each member species has its own military traditions, technologies, and command structures. They have been fighting small conflicts and police actions for centuries, but never anything like this. Admiral Carter felt a spark of hope. What else do we know about their military capabilities? That is where things get interesting, Dr. Wright said, changing the holographic display to show technical specifications of alien ships. Their technology is definitely more advanced than ours in many areas. Their energy weapons are more powerful, their shields are stronger, and their faster-than-light drives are more efficient. But they have never had to fight an enemy that uses human tactics. What do you mean? General Foster asked. Dr. Wright pulled up video footage from previous human conflicts, showing battles from the colonial wars that had ended just 5 years earlier. Human military doctrine emphasizes speed, flexibility, and overwhelming firepower concentrated at decisive points. We use combined arms tactics, electronic warfare, and rapid maneuver to defeat larger forces. The video showed human ships moving in complex patterns, changing formation constantly, using asteroids and space debris as cover while launching coordinated attacks from multiple directions. It was completely different from the formal, predictable battle lines that alien species typically used. The aliens fight like medieval knights, Dr. Wright continued. They line up their biggest ships, announce their intentions, and try to overpower their enemies through superior technology and numbers. They have never faced an enemy that fights dirty. President Hayes returned to his seat with a thoughtful expression. Jake, what are your recommendations? Admiral Carter had been thinking about this moment for years. Every human military officer knew that conflict with the Galactic Council was possible someday. The aliens had made it clear from first contact that they expected younger species to submit to their authority without question. I recommend we activate Operation Sleeping Giant immediately, Jake said. We have been preparing for this scenario Since we first encountered hostile alien intentions 3 years ago, General Foster nodded her agreement. The operation calls for drawing alien forces into human space where we can use our knowledge of local conditions and our prepared defensive positions to maximum advantage. President Hayes looked around the table at each of his advisors, explained the operation to everyone. Admiral Carter stood and began manipulating the holographic display to show human defensive preparations. We have been building hidden shipyards and supply bases throughout human space for the past 2 years. These facilities are camouflaged and heavily defended, designed to continue producing ships and supplies even during extended warfare. The display showed dozens of locations that were not marked on any official star charts. Asteroid mining facilities that were actually ship, construction centers, scientific research stations that were really military supply depots. Even some colonies had secret underground factories producing weapons and equipment. We also have prepared fallback positions in systems that appear lightly defended but are actually elaborate traps, General Foster added. The aliens will expect U.S. to make desperate stands at our most important colonies. Instead, we will let them capture empty systems while we destroy their fleets in systems they think are unimportant. Dr. Wright activated another section of the display. Our biggest advantage is information. We have been studying captured alien technology for years, looking for weaknesses and design flaws that their engineers never considered, human artificial. Intelligence systems are better at processing complex battlefield data than alien computer systems. Captain Roy Jackson entered the room and saluted. He was the commander of the UHS Defiance, humanity's newest stealth reconnaissance ship. His vessel had been designed specifically for operations in alien space, using technology reverse-engineered from captured alien equipment combined with human innovations. Captain Jackson will lead our intelligence-gathering efforts, Admiral, Carter explained. His ship can operate undetected in alien space for weeks at a time, monitoring their fleet movements and communication patterns. Captain Jackson activated his own datapad and added new information to the holographic display. We have already identified several weaknesses in alien fleet coordination. Their different species use incompatible communication systems, which means they have trouble coordinating complex operations. They also rely heavily on predictable supply lines that can be disrupted. President Hayes studied the information for several minutes before speaking. Gentlemen, ladies, I want to be very clear about what we are deciding here. If we activate Operation Sleeping Giant, we are committing humanity to a war that could last for years and cost millions of lives. But if we surrender, we lose our freedom. Forever, Director Davis looked up from her notes. Mr. President, our psychological profiles of the alien leadership suggest they expect us to surrender quickly once they demonstrate their superior firepower. They think humans are too primitive and too scared to fight a prolonged war. Then they do not understand humans very well, General Foster said with a grim smile. President Hayes stood up again and looked each person in the room in the eye. I am authorizing Operation Sleeping Giant. Jake, Amy, I want our fleets ready for combat operations within 72 hours. Kevin, I need everything you know about alien weaknesses distributed to every ship captain and ground commander. Carol, I want intelligence reports on alien fleet movements updated every 6 hours. He paused and looked at the holographic display showing the enormous alien forces arrayed against humanity's small colonies. The aliens asked if we know what forces we have chosen to oppose. They are about to find out that the real question is whether they understand what they have chosen to fight? Admiral Carter felt a surge of pride in his species. Humans had always been at their best when facing impossible odds. Mr. President, there is one more thing. Ambassador Martinez asked me to pass along a message from the alien chancellor. He wanted to know if we comprehend the forces we are opposing. President. Hayes smiled, and for a moment he looked less like a worried political leader and more like the former Marine colonel he had been before entering politics. Tell the Chancellor that we are looking forward to showing him exactly what humans are, capable of when someone threatens our freedom. The star system called New Texas had always been a quiet place on the edge of human space. 3 planets orbited a yellow sun much like Earth's, but only one world had been settled by colonists. The planet below was mostly farmland and small. Mining operations, the kind of peaceful frontier community that millions of humans had built throughout the galaxy. From space, it looked like an easy target, Fleet Admiral Zexkoth studied. The system threw the sensors of his flagship as his battle fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of New Texas space. 512 warships, spread out in perfect formation behind him, their hulls gleaming with the polished metal that showed the pride of the hegemony fleet. This would be the first battle of the war against humanity, and Zexkoth intended to make it a quick demonstration. Of galactic power, the Admiral was old even by hegemony standards, his gray skin marked with the ritual scars that showed his many victories. He had commanded fleets for over 2 centuries, crushing rebellions and enforcing galactic law throughout the Outer Rim. Humans were just another primitive species that needed to learn their place in the galactic order. What are the defensive forces in this system? Zexkoth asked his tactical officer. Very light, Admiral, the younger hegemony replied, checking his instruments. We detect only 6 human patrol ships and 3 orbital defense platforms around the inhabited planet. Total enemy firepower appears to be less than 1% of our fleet's strength. Zexkoth nodded with satisfaction. Intelligence reports had suggested that New Texas was one of humanity's newer colonies with minimal military presence. It would be perfect for demonstrating what happened to species that defied the Galactic Council. After New Texas fell in a few hours, other human colonies would surrender without fighting. On the surface of New Texas, Colonel Pete Sullivan watched the alien fleet appear on his command center screens. He was a short, stocky man with graying hair who had served in the Colonial Defense Force for 20 years. His headquarters was built into a mountain outside the main colonial city, designed to look like a simple mining facility from space. Well, there they are, Pete said to his staff officers gathered around the tactical display. 500 plus. Contacts just like intelligence predicted. Anyone want to bet they are going to demand our surrender in about 10 minutes? Captain Linda Gray's voice came through the communication system from the orbital command station high above the planet. Colonel, we are getting standard hegemony challenge signals. They want to speak to whoever is in charge down there. Pete activated his microphone. Put them through, Linda. Let's see what these folks have to say. The main screen in the command center lit up with the image of Admiral Zexkoth on his flagship bridge. The alien looked exactly like the intelligence files had described. Tall, thin, with 4 arms and cold eyes that had seen too many battles. When he spoke, his words came through the translation system with the formal tone that all hegemony officers used. I am Fleet Admiral Zexkoth of the Galactic Council Defense Force. The colonial government of this system has exactly 1 standard hour to surrender unconditionally and prepare for occupation by galactic forces. Any resistance will result in orbital bombardment and the complete destruction of all human installations. Pete looked around at his officers and saw determination on every face. These people had volunteered to defend their homes against exactly this kind of threat. None of them looked like they wanted to surrender to aliens who talked about destroying everything they had built. Admiral Zexkoth, Pete replied. This is Colonel Pete Sullivan of the New Texas Colonial Defense Force. I'm afraid we are going to have to decline your generous offer. We like our planet the way it is. The alien admiral's 4 arms moved in. What Pete had learned was a gesture of surprise among the hegemony. Colonel Sullivan, you cannot possibly believe that 6 patrol ships and a few orbital platforms can stand against a full Galactic Council battle fleet. Surrender now, and your people will be treated according to the laws of war. Pete smiled at the screen. Admiral, you seem like a reasonable fellow, so let me give you some free advice. You might want to take a closer look at this system before you do anything you might regret later. Admiral Zexkoth cut the communication channel and turned to his tactical officer. Begin standard bombardment pattern. Target the orbital platforms first, then destroy the patrol ships. We will show these humans the price of defiance. But as the hegemony fleet moved deeper into the new Texas system, things began to go wrong almost immediately. The first ships to advance triggered hidden minefields that had been invisible to their sensors. Explosions blossomed throughout the alien formation as automated mines armed with human-designed warheads tore through alien shields that had never been tested against human weapons. "Admiral, we are detecting massive energy signatures throughout the system," the tactical officer reported, his voice rising with alarm. "There are defense platforms powering up everywhere." They were completely hidden from our sensors. From asteroid mining stations, from small moons, from locations that had appeared empty on all scans, human defense platforms revealed themselves and began firing. The weapons were not as advanced as alien technology, but there were hundreds of them, and they fired much faster than anything the hegemony had encountered before. Captain Linda Gray coordinated the defense from her orbital command station, using intelligence data that Captain Jackson had gathered during his reconnaissance missions. The human defenders knew exactly where alien shields were weakest and how alien targeting systems worked. Every shot was aimed at the most vulnerable points on enemy ships. "All defense platforms focus fire on Grid 7 Alpha," Linda commanded. "Intelligence says their shield generators are located in that section." The concentrated human firepower overwhelmed the shields on a hegemony cruiser, and secondary explosions tore the ship apart. Across the system, other alien ships found themselves under attack from directions they had never expected. Human Tactics Manual called for hitting the enemy from multiple angles simultaneously, creating confusion and preventing effective response. Admiral Zexkoth watched in growing disbelief as his perfectly organized fleet fell into chaos. Ships collided with each other as captains tried to avoid minefields and return fire at the same time. Communication channels filled with confused reports and calls for assistance. "How many defense platforms are there?" he demanded. "We have counted over 400 separate targets, Admiral," his tactical officer replied. "But more keep appearing. It appears the entire system has been turned into a fortress." That was exactly what had happened. For 2 years, human engineers had been secretly preparing New Texas and a dozen other frontier systems as killing grounds for alien fleets. What looked like simple mining operations were actually weapon manufacturing centers. What appeared to be communication satellites were actually sensor networks that could track every ship in the system. Even the small patrol ships were not what they seemed. Captain Roy Jackson watched the battle from his hidden position behind one of the system's outer moons. His stealth ship UHS Defiance had been gathering intelligence on alien fleet movements for weeks, but today he had a different mission. As the alien fleet struggled with the unexpected defenses, Roy activated a special weapon system that human scientists had developed specifically for fighting hegemony ships. The weapon sent out electromagnetic pulses that interfered with alien computer systems. Unlike human computers, which were designed to work even when damaged, alien systems depended on perfect coordination between different components. When that coordination was disrupted, entire ships became helpless. "Defense control, this is Defiance," Roy reported to Colonel Sullivan. "Electronic warfare package is active. Enemy ships are losing targeting coordination and formation control." Throughout the alien fleet, captains found their ships no longer responding properly to commands. Weapon systems fired at empty space. Navigation computers gave contradictory readings. Communication equipment produced nothing but static. The hegemony had never encountered electronic warfare at this level, and their ships had no defenses against it. Admiral Zexkoth realized his fleet was being destroyed by enemies. He could barely see using tactics he did not understand. In 3 hours of fighting, he had lost over 300 ships, while the humans had lost perhaps a dozen defense platforms. This was not the quick victory he had promised the Galactic Council. "All ships retreat to minimum safe distance," he ordered, his voice heavy with defeat. "Prepare for faster-than-light withdrawal." Colonel Sullivan watched the alien fleet pull back and felt a surge of pride in his people. "Linda, what are our losses?" 14 defense platforms destroyed," 2 patrol ships damaged but repairable, Captain Gray reported. The aliens lost. At least 300 ships and probably twice that many damaged. Pete activated his communication system and sent a message to Admiral Carter back on Earth. Mission accomplished. First alien battle fleet has been defeated with minimal human casualties. It appears our tactics work even better than expected. As the surviving alien ships jumped to faster-than-light speed and fled the New Texas system, they carried with them news that would shock the Galactic Council. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was unlike anything in the organization's 1,000-year history. High Chancellor Vextar stood before the assembled delegates, his forearms shaking with rage as he read the battle report from New Texas around him. Representatives from 12 founding species made the sounds their people used to express shock and disbelief. 312 ships destroyed, Vextar announced, his voice echoing through the great chamber. Over 50,000 of our finest warriors dead or missing. An entire battle fleet crushed by a primitive human colony that was supposed to surrender without firing a shot. The delegate from the Crystalline Collective clicked her crystal wings together in what humans would have recognized as nervous laughter. Perhaps Admiral Zexkoth simply underestimated the enemy. These humans have proven more cunning than we expected, but surely they cannot repeat such a victory against a properly prepared force. Vextar turned his cold eyes toward her. Admiral Zexkoth was one of our most experienced commanders. His fleet included our newest ships equipped with the most advanced weapons in the galaxy. If the humans can destroy such a force, then we have seriously misjudged this enemy. The aquatic delegate from the Federation made bubbling sounds that the translation system rendered as concern. High Chancellor, what do you propose we do? The other species are watching how we handle this crisis. If we appear weak, it could encourage other rebellions throughout the galaxy. Around the chamber, delegates from younger species whispered among themselves. Many had joined the Galactic Council reluctantly, accepting alien rule only because resistance seemed impossible. The news that humans had defeated a major alien fleet was spreading quickly through diplomatic channels. Vextar activated the chamber's main display, showing a holographic map of the galaxy with human colonies marked in red. We will mobilize the largest battle fleet in galactic history. Every founding species will contribute ships and crews. We will gather over 3,000 vessels and crush human resistance once and for all. The announcement sent waves of excitement through the founding species delegates. This would be the largest military operation since the Great Wars that had established galactic civilization centuries ago. But some of the younger species looked worried. 3,000 ships meant huge expenses and resources that would have to come from somewhere. Back on Earth, President Dan Hayes stood before a joint session of Congress in the Great Hall where humanity's representatives gathered to make their most important decisions. The room was packed with senators and congressmen from every human colony, their faces serious as they listened to their leader explain the situation. My fellow citizens, President Hayes began, 3 days ago the Galactic Council declared war on humanity. They expected us to surrender immediately and accept alien rule over our colonies. Instead, our brave defenders at New Texas have shown these aliens that humans do not surrender our freedom without a fight. The hall erupted in cheers and applause. Representatives stood and clapped, their voices joining together in celebration of the unexpected victory. But President Hayes raised his hand for silence, his expression remaining grave. We must not let this single victory make us overconfident, he continued. Intelligence reports indicate that the aliens are mobilizing the largest fleet in their history to crush our resistance. They are bringing over 3,000 ships from across the galaxy. We are about to face the greatest challenge in human history. The celebration died away as the reality of the situation became clear. 3,000 alien ships was more than the entire human fleet. And these would be the best vessels and most experienced crews that galactic civilization could produce. But I stand before you today to announce that humanity will not surrender, President Hayes declared, his voice growing stronger. We will mobilize every resource, every ship, every person capable of fighting to defend our right to exist as free beings in this galaxy. In a secure facility deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Rachel Stone reviewed the final test results from humanity's most secret weapons research project. She was a small woman with gray hair who had spent her entire career studying alien technology, looking for weaknesses that human science could exploit. The quantum resonance disruptors are ready for deployment, she told her research team gathered around the laboratory tables. Field tests show they can disable alien shield generators and propulsion systems, without permanent damage to the ships themselves. Her assistant, Dr. Mike Chun, looked up from his computer terminal with excitement. The beauty of this technology is that the aliens have no defense against it. Their science never developed quantum physics the way humans did. They focused on energy manipulation while we focused on understanding the fundamental nature of space and time. Dr. Stone nodded with satisfaction. Human scientific curiosity has always been our greatest strength. While the aliens were perfecting weapons to fight each other, we were asking questions about how the universe actually works. The quantum weapons were just one of many human innovations that would surprise the aliens. Human artificial intelligence systems had proven superior at processing complex battlefield data. Human electronic warfare capabilities could disrupt alien communications and targeting systems. Most importantly, human military doctrine emphasized flexibility and rapid adaptation while alien tactics had remained unchanged for centuries. Captain Sarah Lewis stood on the bridge of the UHS Retribution, humanity's newest and most powerful warship. The super dreadnought had been built in the secret shipyards of the Outer Rim using a combination of human engineering and captured alien technology. It was larger than any ship humans had ever constructed, but it was also faster and more maneuverable than anything in the alien fleets. Final systems check complete, Captain, her first officer reported. All weapons are online, shields are at maximum power, and the crew is ready for combat operations. Sarah looked out at the stars through the bridge windows and thought about the responsibility that rested on her shoulders. The Retribution represented humanity's best hope for surviving the coming battle. If the new ship design worked as planned, it would give human forces the firepower they needed to fight alien dreadnoughts on equal terms. Communications, send a message to Admiral Carter, Sarah ordered. Tell him that Retribution is ready to show these aliens what human engineering can accomplish when we put our minds to it. Meanwhile, Captain Roy Jackson continued his reconnaissance missions deep in alien space, gathering intelligence on the massive fleet that was assembling to attack humanity. His stealth ship Defiance moved unseen through alien patrol zones, recording everything about enemy ship movements and communication patterns. What Roy discovered would prove crucial to human survival. The alien alliance was not as unified as it appeared. Different species used incompatible technologies and could barely communicate with each other during complex operations. Hegemony ships required different fuel than crystalline vessels. Aquatic Federation crews needed special life support systems that limited where their ships could operate. Earth Command, this is Defiance, Roy reported during one of his encrypted transmissions. The alien fleet is huge, but it is also a mess. They have ships from 8 different species using 6 different weapon systems and at least 4 different communication protocols. They are going to have serious coordination problems in any major battle. The intelligence was exactly what Admiral Carter needed to plan humanity's defense. If the aliens could not coordinate their attacks effectively, human forces could use their superior teamwork and communication to divide and destroy the enemy fleet piece by piece. President Hayes received the intelligence reports in his private office and felt a spark of hope. The numbers were still against humanity, but numbers were not everything in warfare. Human history was full of examples where smaller forces had defeated larger enemies through superior tactics and determination. Dr. Stone, he said during a secure video call to the research facility, how soon can we have your quantum weapons deployed to our frontline ships? The first production units will be ready within 48 hours, she replied. We have enough for about 200 installations. It is not enough to equip our entire fleet, but it should give us a significant advantage in the opening phases of battle. President Hayes nodded with satisfaction. Captain Lewis, what is the status of our new super dreadnought? Sarah's image appeared on another screen. Retribution is fully operational and ready for combat, Mr. President. We have tested all systems against simulated alien targets, and the results exceed our most optimistic projections. Excellent, President Hayes said. Admiral Carter, I want our best ships equipped with the new quantum weapons and positioned to take maximum advantage of the intelligence that Captain Jackson has provided. When the aliens arrive, they are going to discover that fighting humans is very different from anything they have experienced before. The room fell silent as everyone contemplated the coming battle. Humanity had spent years preparing for this moment, developing new technologies and tactics specifically designed to fight alien enemies. The Epsilon Centauri system had been chosen carefully as the location for the final battle. It was strategically important because it controlled the main trade routes between human space and the galactic core. More importantly, it was where Admiral Jake Carter wanted to make his stand against the largest alien fleet in galactic history. High Chancellor Vexstar stood on the bridge of his massive flagship, the Galactic Dominion, as his fleet of 3,000 ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. Around him stretched the greatest military force ever assembled by galactic civilization. Ships from 8 different species filled space for hundreds of kilometers in every direction, their hulls gleaming with weapons that could crack planets. Chancellor, we are detecting human fleet movements throughout the system, his tactical officer reported. Initial count shows approximately 800 human vessels, but they are spread out across multiple planetary orbits. Vexstar studied the tactical display with satisfaction. 800 ships against 3,000. The humans were outnumbered almost 4-1, and these were the best ships and crews that galactic civilization could produce. This battle would end human resistance once and for all. Open a communication channel to the human fleet, Vexstar ordered. I want to offer them one final chance to surrender before we destroy them. On the bridge of the UHS Victory, Admiral Jake Carter received the alien communication request. Around him, his command staff worked at their stations with calm efficiency. They had spent months preparing for this moment, and everyone knew exactly what they needed to do. Put him through communications, Jake ordered. The main screen lit up with the image of High Chancellor Vexstar on his alien bridge. The hegemony leader looked confident and proud, surrounded by officers from multiple species all working together to coordinate the massive fleet. Admiral Carter, Vexstar began, you are outnumbered and outgunned. Your defeat is inevitable. I offer you this final opportunity to surrender and spare the lives of your crews. Submit to galactic authority, and your people will be treated with mercy. Jake looked around his bridge at the human officers who had volunteered to defend their species' freedom. Captain Sarah Lewis appeared on a secondary screen from the UHS Retribution, her new super dreadnought positioned at the center of the human formation. Captain Roy Jackson reported ready from his stealth ship Defiance, hidden among the asteroids where he could coordinate electronic warfare attacks. Chancellor Vexstar, Jake replied, I appreciate your concern for our welfare, but I am afraid we must decline your offer. You see, we humans have a saying, freedom is not free. We would rather die fighting for our liberty than live as slaves to anyone. President Dan Hayes appeared on another communication channel, speaking directly from Earth where he was coordinating the defense of humanity's home system. Chancellor, this is President Hayes. I wanted to personally deliver a message from the people of Earth. We asked if your declaration of war was all you had. Today, you are going to find out what happens when you threaten human freedom. Vexstar's 4 arms moved in a gesture of dismissal. Your courage is admirable but pointless. Begin the attack. Show these humans the price of defying galactic authority. The alien fleet moved forward in perfect formation, their different species, coordinating through complex communication protocols that had taken months to establish. Hegemony dreadnoughts led the advance, followed by crystalline energy ships and aquatic Federation support vessels. It was an impressive display of galactic military power, but as the alien ships closed the distance to the human fleet, things began to go wrong almost immediately, Dr. Rachel. Stone's quantum resonance disruptors activated from hidden positions throughout the system, sending waves of energy that interfered with alien shield generators and propulsion systems. Chancellor, we are experiencing massive system failures across the fleet, the tactical officer reported with alarm in his voice. Shield efficiency is dropping to 30%. Many ships are reporting navigation problems. Throughout the alien formation, captains found their vessels no longer responding properly to commands. The quantum weapons attacked the fundamental energy patterns that alien technology used to function, creating failures that alien engineers had never seen before. Captain Sarah Lewis watched the alien fleet struggle with the quantum attacks and felt a surge of pride in human scientific achievement. All ships, this is retribution. Execute Battle Plan Alpha. Hit them while their defenses are down. The human fleet moved with precision that amazed even their own crews. Months of training and preparation showed as ships moved in complex patterns designed to take maximum advantage of alien weaknesses that Captain Jackson had discovered during his reconnaissance missions, unlike the aliens who fought in rigid formations with predetermined attack patterns. Human ships changed their tactics constantly. They used the asteroids and debris in the system as cover, appearing and disappearing like ghosts while concentrating their firepower on specific enemy vessels. Captain Roy Jackson coordinated the electronic warfare attacks from his hidden position. Defiance to all units. Alien communication systems are fragmenting. Different species are losing contact with each other. Continue the pressure. The alien fleet began to fall apart as different species tried to fight according to their own military traditions. Hegemony ships expected to engage in formal battle lines, while crystalline vessels preferred energy duels between individual ships. Aquatic Federation crews needed constant communication with their command structure, but human jamming made that impossible. Admiral Carter watched the battle unfold exactly as human planners had predicted. Communications, patch me through to all human ships. I want everyone to hear this. His voice carried across every human vessel in the system. This is Admiral Carter to all ships. Today we fight not just for our own freedom, but for the right of every species in the galaxy to determine their own destiny. Show these aliens what humans can accomplish when we work together. The tide of battle turned decisively when Captain Lewis brought the UHS Retribution into direct combat with the alien flagship. The human super dreadnought had been designed specifically to fight alien capital ships, using hybrid technology that combined the best of human and alien engineering. Target their main weapons array, Sarah ordered her weapons officer. Show them what human innovation looks like. The Retribution's weapons tore through the alien flagship's weakened shields, causing secondary explosions that rippled along the massive vessel's hull. For the first time in the battle, High Chancellor Vexstar felt fear as his own ship shuddered under human weapons fire. Damage report, he demanded. Main weapons offline, shields failing, propulsion system compromised, came the reply from multiple stations. We are dead in space, Chancellor. Throughout the alien fleet, similar scenes played out as human ships exploited every weakness that years of preparation had revealed. Ships that had never been defeated in centuries of warfare found themselves helpless against human tactics and technology. Dr. Stone's quantum weapons platforms continued their work, creating gravitational anomalies that trapped alien ships without destroying them entirely. The goal was not to massacre the alien crews, but to demonstrate that human science had found ways to neutralize their technological advantages. Admiral Carter opened a direct communication channel to the alien flagship. Chancellor Vexstar, this is Admiral Carter. I believe it is time for you to consider surrender. The alien leader looked around his damaged bridge at the reports of defeat coming from across his fleet. Over 2,000 ships were disabled or destroyed, while human losses remained minimal. This was supposed to be the quick conquest that would establish galactic dominance forever. How? Vexstar asked, his voice heavy with defeat. How did you accomplish this? President Hayes answered from Earth, his image appearing on the alien's screen. Chancellor, you made the same mistake that bullies always make. You assumed that being bigger and stronger was the same thing as being better. You never bothered to understand who you were fighting, Jake continued the explanation. You see, humans have always been at our best when facing impossible odds. We do not give up, we do not surrender, and we never stop looking for ways to overcome our enemies. You brought the largest fleet in galactic history to crush us, and we turned it into a demonstration of why threatening human freedom is a very bad idea. The remaining alien ships began withdrawing from the battlefield, their formation completely broken and their command structure in chaos. Admiral Carter could have pursued and destroyed them, but that was not the human way. Chancellor, Jake said, we offer you the same thing we have always wanted, peace based on mutual respect. Humans do not seek to conquer or rule other species. We only ask for the right to exist freely among the stars. President Hayes appeared on the communication channel one final time. The question you asked at the beginning of this war was whether we understood what forces we had chosen to oppose. I think today you have learned that the real question was whether you understood what you had chosen to fight. Ambassador Lisa Martinez stood once again in the Galactic Council chamber. At this time, the alien delegates waited respectfully for her to speak.